this is a conversation about the power of art for healing people and about, well, the reason why I asked you if you wanted to share your experience is because you're kind of like the original pack of person-centered expressive arts people, right? Because you began with Natalie Rogers. At the very beginning, you were one of the first members in her group. And then in the second person-centered expressive arts symposium that I organized with Janet Rasmussen, I took your workshop and I was like, oh my God, blown away.
Ah, that's
I had
good.
amazing experience about
Mhm.
my voice, you know? I think you have been working about the voice
Yes.
and it's so special. It's so, I don't know, I'm going to say transcendent.
Ah,
Because, yeah. So I just wanted to know, like, how did you come into this
how did
field?
how did I come into the field of expressive arts
Yeah,
therapy?
yeah. Or,
So
like, how did art seem like a healing thing for you? How did it start?
through music and singing.
Uh,
So when I was a teenager, I, well, actually even younger, I used to make up songs on my grandmother's piano. But as a teenager, when I was 13, 14, is when the Vietnam War started. And some of my friends were being killed. And just there was a lot of, it was the 60s. There was a lot of turmoil going on. And I began writing songs about um, my feelings and concerns. And I found it was a way for me to process. I found it was a way for me to make sense, to release and express with my guitar, and singing, writing songs. And then I did go to art school. And at the same time, I was also singing in rock and roll bands, at coffee houses with folk music, bluegrass. So music was it's always been a really important part of my life. But then, when I was getting ready to graduate, I remember my favorite professor was asking me, well, what are you going to do with your art? And I said, well, I wish I could find a way to combine art and music, was what I told him, not knowing there was a whole field out there of expressive arts therapy. And then my husband and I moved to San Francisco, and I found myself managing an architect office and knowing this is not where I belong. And and started looking at other avenues. And then serendipitously, somebody suggested I talk to Natalie Rogers.
oh my gosh.
As
Mhm.
I brought up the whole thing of using the arts. And actually, that was my thesis when I graduated. My undergraduate degree was about how the arts can be cathartic for my own process and wanting to provide that for others. And lo and behold, I met Natalie, and she really did work the way I wanted to work. I didn't want to focus on diagnosis, but as a licensed therapist, I do have to do that sometimes, but I wanted to focus more on empowering people to use their own voice, to use their own inner creative wisdom, if you will, to
Mhm.
kind of find calm, to find solution, to find a way to heal.
Hmm.
And so that's how I entered the field. And you know what they say, Lorena, about it's like when you are on the right path, it feels like doors just open up effortlessly if you're where you're supposed to be. And that's what it felt like, really.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I heard, I was showing some paintings in a psychology fair, and I won some prize with that in
Hmm.
Houston. This is in, like, I don't know what year it was, but after I had done my engineering, and so I'm doing something really strange, showing paintings in a psychology fair, and somebody that saw that told me Natalie Rogers is giving a workshop here, in the same place where I was. And I took the workshop, and I
Wow.
thought, wow, this is what I have been trying to figure out of how to do. So she did it perfectly, what I had been struggling for years of
Okay.
how to offer art to people in this way that is supportive and that is not guiding them, because I didn't want to tell anyone what to do, because I knew that I didn't want anyone telling me what to do. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Wow. That's great. So you weren't even in the same profession when you
No.
started. Wow. See, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I came in from engineering, and you came in from art. You were doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was working on a fine arts degree. Yeah.
Wow. And then you got your license, you became a counselor after that, or?
Yeah. So while at the same time I was taking Natalie's program in Santa Rosa, I I also started the master's degree in clinical psychology at JFK University, which I understand is no more, unfortunately. But it was a great program, and I felt like I needed the science to kind of balance out, because, art and music, and I just felt like it would be a nice balance. And fortunately, we had a wonderful teacher and director there, Ben Hedges, who was also very person-centered and actually came and taught one of the courses with Natalie at one point. So I, I got the experiential and hands-on with Natalie with her program, and then got the clinical, more heady, intellectual, but theoretical base, at the getting the master's, the clinical psychology degree. So I got both,
Hmm.
which was good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main reason why you became involved with it was a desire to make art, but also because you felt like it was helping you to process the Vietnam War and losing friends, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. When I first started, of course, I had no idea what I was doing as a teenager and young adult. I just knew that I had to, just like someone who needs to paint, like, you know, uh, I had to write these songs and play them, and as a way to express my angst about what was going on in the world. And then later I started performing some of these songs, and felt heard and felt understood, which is another important piece of doing our arts and our writing and our music, is that having witnesses
Mm-hmm.
to our journey, witnesses to our unspoken language, if you will. Um, I mean, certainly songs have words, but, art, it comes from that place. It's like, sometimes it doesn't need words. You understand on a whole other level.
Mm-hmm.
Look at someone's art.
Yeah, that was one thing in your workshop. When I
Hmm.
took your workshop, you had people be in couples, two at a
Mm.
time, and then one person would um, be the witness for the other person that
Uh,
was expressing whatever sounds were coming from them. laying on the floor, and that, felt so important and so safe, and it's different. I think in regular society, um, a lot of people maybe who have had difficulty in relationships or so on, they are not aware of the how important it is to be witness for them. Like, it's not there's not an awareness of we need to be heard and seen and cherished and looked after, every human at every age.
That's right.
And people are not aware. So there's this need, this sadness, or this need that is not fulfilled for many of us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so, so important to be heard and understood. And then, of course, the voice workshop, I think I learned this early on too, that I was a very shy child. And, our throat is very much connected to our personal power to have a voice. It also connects our body to our head. It's such an important channel. It's such an important part of our body. I mean, our whole body is important, but having this voice. And so how I discovered that was working with individuals where, it wasn't about sounding pretty. It
No.
wasn't about, I mean, it might sound beautiful, but it's about moving things stuck inside the voice that need to be released or heard. And, so any kind of utterance or sound or child song, if you remember the workshop, and then having this witness who's not there to critique or judge the sound, but really just to take it in and hear it, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, not many people have that experience.
No. And I think we all, probably like all the humans that live in our society, in a Western society, have had to silence themselves because that's what's required to fit in. You have to, keep private many of the sounds and the screams, the sadness, the joy. You have to shape it in some way so it's appropriate, and it's not that it's bad, but it's simply that then there are things that are stuck in your heart and your throat, like you say, and your body, unexpressed things, and if people have trauma, there's unexpressed sadness and screams and,
Yeah.
things that need to be addressed. And even when people don't remember exactly where
Mm-hmm.
this sadness or this rage is coming from, is transformed and and witnessed, appreciated, cherished by someone, and then it can leave the body. You free people in your workshops, of course, that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully to release some of that, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, we would go, I suggested that people go into, without talking, going in right into the art to kind of give a visual to what that experience was like, expressing and being witnessed and heard. And it's quite amazing sometimes. There was a woman I worked with from China, and she was with an acting troupe, but did pantomime, and but she came to me because her voice was really soft. You could hardly hear her, and she wanted to understand why. So we worked for several months on her voice, and she said towards the end, people would start saying, they thought they had the wrong phone number. She started objecting out loud in her classrooms in college. And so I thought, well, it seems to be working. But one thing I remember from our work is that she would be sounding and then tears would come. And she said she didn't even know what the tears were, but when she did the art, she realized it was tears for her people, tears for her community, uh, just the remorse, the collective remorse, I guess, that she felt like she was picking up, that of course, she embodied in some ways growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it's really powerful work, and I definitely want to keep doing it for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's so powerful. And I think that that part of going straight to the art after the sounding, it gives it an extra, like makes it even stronger. The transforming whatever was left in the timeline of the person,
Mhm.
and it was brought and awakened when the person is making the sound and then turn into something, a symbol. In that time, when I did your workshop, I made a clay sculpture, and it was like a sitting um, woman, but everything was her mouth just speaking out, very connected all the way down.
Uh-huh.
So I felt like it was a very strong symbol of speaking
Mhm.
your truth, all the truth, just everything, let it
Uh-huh.
all out, just as it is. So it was very,
Yeah, so it sounds like it captured for you the essence of what you experienced and learned from that process.
yeah. And it's interesting that you say the throat connects the brain with the body, because in my sculpture, it was really the voice of the body. The
Uh-huh.
brain was out here, like, you've
Uh-huh.
had enough to say, now go back. And it was all this body sound. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes, I don't know if I did this with the workshop you did, but sometimes I'll invite people to then move to their drawing or write to it,
Yeah.
and then share, if they feel comfortable sharing anything. They don't have to, of course, from the person-centered approach, only if they want to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a huge difference. Yeah, what Natalie Rogers called
Uh-huh.
the creative connection.
Yeah.
Go deeper and deeper into the unconscious, bringing more and more out, and healing, closing wounds, cleaning that place up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to, you know, work with Natalie, get to know her, understand how she works, her father's, wisdom that he passed down to her. I mean, it just feels, I just feel so much gratitude for having had that experience and where it took me. Um, yeah, it's amazing how this works, well, the one layer and the next layer and the next layer. Something really interesting that I learned from this neurologist actually years ago, when I was teaching at a program, was that words are sub symbols in the brain,
Mhm.
but like movement or sound,
Mhm.
that is an immediate, it's more authentic because language, the spoken word, is not as old a language as our movement. That's how we used to communicate, our
Mhm.
ancestors,
Yeah.
movement or sound, right? So when we allow ourselves that opportunity, our work in front of movement is much more authentic to what's really happening than words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Mm.
I think in my experience and what I have seen people in my classes, um, it's always better to start with art, with sound, with movement, with,
Mm.
making marks, but it's always very important to make words for that too after.
Mm.
Not start with the words because like you say, it's like you're not getting to the root, but the
Mm-hmm.
words after because, to organize, like, what is this? And
Right.
then you can say what it is, and then you can like integrate it or make it coherent because,
Mm.
oh, I understand me and I kick ass, something like that.
Yeah, it's more potent. It's more closely connected with what's really going on.
Yeah, I think if you just start with words, it's only thoughts, and
Uh-huh.
they are, you know, imagination up here, very not necessarily related with anything that you actually are feeling. But if you start with art and movement, then these words are actually about us as something real.
Yeah, yeah. Words are often, I mean, words are beautiful, wonderful. They're very important. We wouldn't be having this conversation with,
Absolutely.
but
They're pivotal, they're vital, but not all of them.
yeah. And I love to write too, but we're editing. Every time we talk, we're editing
Mhm.
our experience versus, when we're moving, it's really hard. I can give you a great example. It's like at a board meeting with Natalie some years ago. She asked the staff, myself, Shelley, Maria, Patricia, Waters. It's like, so how are you all doing? And my response was, oh, I'm doing great. Everything's fine. And then we went around the circle, and then she said, okay, now I want us to get up and move,
Mhm.
representing how we feel. And I automatically went to this like feeling something like this, and tears just started rolling down. And it was because my youngest was about to head off to college.
Mhm. Yeah.
I realized that there was a sadness there
Yeah.
that I couldn't access
Right.
until I started moving.
Yes. Yeah. I understand that very much. Yeah. Because I think, the brain, the mind, the human mind is so smart, so brilliant. It's always making explanations for things, but it doesn't really know what's going on. So it needs it needs the body to send it information, like um
Mm-hmm.
send that for me, like I don't even know very well how I'm doing until I do my drawing in the morning. This is really weird, but it's true. Like I
Uh,
think I don't feel good, but then I do my drawing and it's very happy. It's like, no, I feel great actually, or yeah,
mm-hmm.
it's like this is about, I'm not going to put it down because, I love the human mind, but it's not knowledgeable about many things going on with the human, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. With the body and feelings in different parts and how we're doing somatically. I've been loving watching the paintings that you've been doing, spontaneously. And I imagine it's kind of like your inner yoga in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. I think it makes a difference every time. It's really, I don't know if everyone can, I think different people connect with different ways of expression more. Like, there's people who connect through music like you and many people. But I think there's a lot of people who can make a symbol, and that symbol has information about your state, the state of your body and your soul, your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
A drawing or a clay thing, just like a song. It's something about your heart and your spirit, right? It
Right.
um, so I think that everybody would benefit to do it, to do something like that, something creative on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was teaching in a college, and I was teaching a class that was required for everyone, people who were nurses, future policemen, future engineers, and everyone really loved it, and they were surprised about how much they enjoy making art, and how much healing there was, and how close they became as a group. These young people, they became tight,
Uh-huh.
and it's and because they got to see each other's soul, each other's true humanity, let's say, not just the words, but a little bit more, like,
Uh-huh.
they got to express more. And it was not artists. Nobody there was going to be an artist. It's just a human activity that we do. And we did one exercise that was with percussion instruments of everybody had a percussion instrument, and then somebody would start the rhythm, and then we'll jump in, listen really closely and jump in. And it would be so good. Like, it would go on for 10 minutes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
People
Uh-huh.
were into it so much. And you can really tell this is a human right.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody needs to be doing this, you know.
And they felt awake after that. I had a very similar experience years ago when I was working at a residential substance abuse center for teenagers. And I felt like the staff didn't quite get what we were doing. So the director recommended I lead a session with the staff, because they would sometimes come in and say inappropriate things when the kids are doing art or movement. So so I came in and they were all like, like, oh, another staff meeting. I don't think they really wanted to be there. But of course, I just gave them the basics, and then we quickly moved into a process. So I turned on Aretha Franklin's music. I can't remember which song, one of her moving was. And so I invited them to, each person, whoever's in the front did a movement, and the people behind them had to do the movement. It's another way for them to kind of, get a sense, connect with the first person.
Yeah.
Energetically, right? So they each did that and really got into it. And then we were also drawing on a wall while we were moving. And when we got done, everyone was, their energy totally shifted from like this to just, they said, wow, can we do this every day? This would really help.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk to the director about that. But I think they got it. I think
Yeah.
they really got what we were doing. It's like finding a way to kind of release and wake up.
Yeah. Let your energy flow,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to regular life
Mm-hmm.
in which we have to hold back our energy. Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then, of course, at the end, you're like this.
Yeah, release stress. You can imagine some of them were stressed. Release stress.
Playfulness.
Exercise. Breathe deeper, because when you move and dance, you have to breathe deeper. It has so many benefits to it. Plus
Yeah.
connecting with each other. I could tell they felt a lot more connected to each other after that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's so great to connect with you.
Yeah,
Lorena.
I haven't seen you in person for 4 years.
As that all? It hasn't been longer than that?
Well, we were together in the second person center. Um,
Yeah, and Natalie passed in 2015, right?
yeah, so we were together in Hong Kong there.
It's more like 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And after that, I don't know if you want to say anything about art in your personal life and challenges after that, or.
Um, well, I think I told you that I recently moved to Southern Oregon. I'd lived in the Bay Area for 38 years, almost 40 years.
Wow.
But I needed a change. Honestly, what happened is just, I'm still very, very busy here, but I really wanted to slow down so I could do more of my own writing and my own art. And because I found, like, I get up, I'm rushing, I'm getting on public transportation to go see clients. I see them all day. I come home, I'm exhausted, and I repeat,
Mhm.
and there just wasn't enough time for me to do my writing. I'm actually working on a musical, and where
Wow.
I'm near Ashland is, Shakespeare, lots and lots of Shakespeare there. So it just felt like the perfect place to, when and if I ever get this musical done, to premiere it here, have actors available, and songs. I want to work on some more songs and all different creative,
Wow.
urges that I didn't have time for.
Oh, I'm so happy. Wow. That's
Yeah.
excellent. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if you want to share, like if you have a website so people can come and see your things, what you're doing.
Um, I I'm actually working on a website. The last couple of years, as you know, has been tough. I went
Yeah.
through breast cancer. I went through wildfires. It's been tough, but I'm working on a new website. It's not up yet, but it's called Expressly for You,
Nice.
with a four and then you, coming from that person-centered approach. And on there, I'm actually hoping to put on presentations by different people online and or in person later when the pandemic isn't such a deal. And also, just different events that are coming up that have to do with the arts that I think people would be interested in. But I'm also listed on Psychology Today.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If
As
I'm
Anin Utigaard.
Nina Utigaard, it's Nina Anin Utigaard. I use both names.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's probably the best way right now. But soon the other website will be up
And of course, you're on Facebook, because I always see you there.
and
You have
vibrate.
also a page for your practice.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, and I love what I'm doing. I never wake up thinking, oh, I have to go to work. I really, I don't think I'm ever probably going to retire because I really love this work. I love what I'm doing, helping people
Oh,
their, their healer within, so to speak, through the arts. And yeah.
you inspire me so much. I love to hear
Yeah,
that. Wow.
good.
Thank you so much, Anin.
You're
I'm so
welcome.
happy that you had time to do this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great to see you too,
Yeah,
Lorena.